Hi there, this is Jordan from Recap Animation. All properties are owned by their respective companies. Please enjoy. Previously we saw Saint Germi betrayed Ord Empire and took Toyohisa and other drifters to the capital to take it over with bloodless rebellion. Still, due to the Black King's interference, they had to fight a war with them. However, with the help of Saint Germi's men and Nobunaga giving them rifles to fight the enemy, Toyohisa fights the enemy's leader and keeps him distracted, and with the help of Hannibal's strategy helps them win this war. Back to the story. Saint Germi comments that 30% of the capital is burned, while the government office building is pretty much destroyed, and ends up in an argument with Nobunaga as it was supposed to be a simple rebellion and not have that much destruction, but Nobunaga tells him it's because the gunpowder and oil did a number on it, and it was also because of the Black King. Meanwhile, Shara and Yoichi stitch up Toyohisa, with Yoichi telling the elves that ever since he's come to this world, his body has been bruised and battered, wondering what kind of life Toyohisa had, considering he is constantly being injured. On the other hand, Nobunaga tells Saint Germi they won all thanks to Toyohisa, because if the enemy general had come to them instead, it would have been a big mess. Saint Germi then wonders what they will do now. Nobunaga comments that the other Ord Empire troops won't just give in, as they didn't take over the capital bloodlessly. He believes the troops will choose their leader and probably try to self-rule, which is the feudal rule. But this isn't a problem, as he is good at destroying the feudal rule the most. Meanwhile, outside the Black King's headquarters, while spying, Octobrist tells Doug that they won't make any progress from here, as he has a limited view of the area, and tells him he took down 2 scouts and managed to obtain some guard equipment and decide to scout the northern walls. After arriving inside, disguised as the guards, they are surprised to find it's like a normal capital, and the monsters are trading. They see the bronze dragon being mined, and his metal melted and turned into the currency used for trading. They see the human slave trade as they work them to their heart's content, and how the other slaves were getting butchered for meat, even though they doubt that even if they have the Black King and the ends to teach them, how could orcs and goblins learn this? As they are surprised that the enemy had advanced that fast, suddenly Minamoto no Yoshitsune finds them and asks which nation's spies they are, or if they are members of Octobrist. Suddenly, Doug attempts to cut him, but Yoshitsune easily kills him. Seeing his companion die in front of his eyes, the Octobrist member tells him that he had seen everything about them. However, Yoshitsune explains he still needs to see what is beyond the wall. After arriving at the edge of the wall, Doug sees something unforgettable, as this is where the army of Ends was camping. There were monsters of all kinds that had gathered to join them. It's no longer just kobolds and goblins, even giants with metal armor and dragons were there. The Black King then tells Abe no Harokira to reveal himself and stop hiding in his disciple's shadow. Abe then appears and tells the Black King he is no savior if he abandons mankind, but just a harmful and undesirable being. The Black King tells him that the world doesn't need humans. Humans are too smart, and the drifters have brought weapons. Still, even without drifters, with their advanced technology, humans would have developed weapons eventually. He wonders how many millions will die because of them. The next thing they might bring may be something that can destroy a whole world, and that's why he doesn't want them, as humans can destroy all lives. Abe tells him humanity has great potential, and he will never allow him to destroy it, and that the monsters would eventually also develop those weapons, as he is teaching them technology. But the Black King tells him that technology advancement stopped during the Dark Ages. He intends to bring the Dark Ages here. Before leaving, Abe tells the Black King that they will stop and defeat him for the sake of the people both on this and on the other side of the wall, and tells him not to take mankind lightly, as the human race is strong. Meanwhile, Toyohisa wakes up and drags himself onto the floor as he feels hungry. Yoichi helps Toyohisa eat and tells him not to die, as everyone, Nobunaga, the elves, the dwarves, and even he will collapse if Toyohisa isn't around. On the other hand, Nobunaga wants to gather all their money and tries to convince Saint Germi to hand over all his fortune and valuable things. This is an investment that he will profit from later. Nobunaga asks Saint Germi for a favor, and if he can arrange peace with Gubinin, but they first need to deal with the rest of Ort's army. As they make plans, Saint Germi comments that the Wolfmen and Catmen have become more aggressive, and wonders if it's because of the Black King. On the other hand, the Wolfmen and Catmen are then seen led by Kano Neyoshi and engage engaging in battle with Ort's army while Scipio strategizes for them. The Wild Bunch had managed to find Scipio, and seeing Naoshi, they wonder if all Japanese are such idiots. Hearing that, Scipio wonders if they are more like him and complains to them that Naoshi even kicked him when he told him he was from Rome. So later, when Naoshi asks the Wild Bunch where they are from, he will kick them if they are Americans or British. Hearing that, Butch and Sundance say they are from Bolivia and haven't even heard of America. Seeing that, Scipio becomes happy. They then decide to leave and tell Scipio that Abe wants him to stay and help Scipio. Meanwhile, the nobles of Ort had gathered, and Nobunaga put a plan to scare them a little. As he introduces himself while scaring them with his identity, then suddenly Toyohisa arrives in bandages looking for food and scares everyone. 500 miles from Ort lies an overseas archipelago, Gubenin merchant guilds. In the merchants assembling nation, Banzelmassen, Shylock VIII, Nasal Brigante, and Yamaguchi Tamon have a meeting. They remark that thanks to Tamon, the navy had increased its strength and taken control of the sea, defeating Ort. Banzelmassen intends to send Ort a peace proposal, thinking they have no choice but to accept, even if they continue their war against other countries, which still benefits Gubenin as they can sell them goods. Tamon congratulates them and comments that they are a true merchant nation. He decides to return his ship while refusing their help to get a house there. As he leaves, Banzelmassen remarks that he still doesn't trust them, and Nasal tells him they need to confiscate his ship as its treasure from another world. But Banzelmassen declines the idea as he doesn't want to anger Tamon. Meanwhile, Toyohisa shows his broken katana to the dwarves, and as they inspect it, they find it strange and don't think they can fix it. On the other hand, Nobunaga there wonders how to deal with the 3rd and 4th Ort army in the west and forms a plan, asking St. Gurmi to write a letter and Yoichi to do something for him. At the 3rd Army base, General Jigmente receives a letter from St. Gurmi informing them that the Black King's monster army attacked, but his army pushed them back. But the capital took a lot of damage, and Ort's leader has been annihilated. Therefore, he asks the 3rd or the 4th Army General to Nation's Father position and takes control of Ort to restore order. Hearing that the envoy is headed towards the 4th Army, Jigmente realizes that he will take over if they reach the capital first. Meanwhile, 4th Army General Lemek hears about that and heads back towards the capital. Still, soldiers block his path from the 3rd Army, who then open fire and kill Lemek and his men. From the 3rd Army, General Jigmente leads his men towards the capital, being happy that he will become the nation's father, but is ambushed by Yoichi, who kills him from far away with his arrow and causes his men to run. On the other hand, Nobunaga plans for the 3rd and 4th armies to kill each other, hoping the western tribes to attack and finish them and for him to form peace with them. But St. Gurmi explains that it won't be easy, as hate accumulated for over 50 years. Nobunaga then suggests telling the information that the 3rd and 4th armies are exhausted and lost their generals to the western tribes, because Nobunaga thinks it is impossible to gain control over a whole army, and then manages to convince St. Gurmi to do it. Meanwhile, Toyohisa, Olminyu, and Hannibal are taking a break. Olminyu asks if it's good how he's behaving lazily as a great general. Toyohisa explains it's because he can't understand all the plots Nobunaga and St. Gurmi are making. He believes Nobunaga is probably even smarter than his father or uncle, and believes he has given a second chance. Hence, he plans on dying gloriously. Olminyu and Hannibal disagree, with Hannibal explaining that Nobunaga had proven he is dangerous, and leaders always have a demon in their hearts. As Nobunaga was a leader in his previous life, Yoichi and Toyohisa served at his shackles. If one breaks, his demon and Black King will turn the world into a field of carnage. Toyohisa and Olminyu are shocked and wonder if Hannibal has come to his senses, but Hannibal starts speaking nonsense again. Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid visit Tamon and bring Abe no Haruakira, who introduces himself to Tamon. Meanwhile, St. Gurmi receives news that Gubenin had come to negotiate peace, but is surprised to find that it's Banzelmassen, first one in the rank of the Shamrock Trading House. They try to say they can invade Ort. Still, St. Gurmi explains they are just lying, as they neither have a ground army nor know how to occupy land territory. He knows their only option is for peace, as this is the only way for the merchants to have a profit. St. Gurmi shows them a musket and explains it helped them win against the Black King and unify the dwarves and elves. He offers them the weapons and tells them he went so far as to establish rifle mass production and can therefore offer a wholesale price to him. Banzelmassen asks if they can replicate it themselves. Still, St. Germy explains that it's made from dwarves and elven skills, and even if they got those, they still need gunpowder. Banzelmassen agrees. They continue the negotiation with them providing food and capital. Having agreed to peace, Banzelmassen Shylock tells St. Germy they will decide on the interest. Then he sees Nobunaga and others at the door and wonders who they are, and St. Germy explains that they are drifters. Banzelmassen remarks that Ort is a craft, as drifters are dragged to your land one after another, and asks what exactly would their purpose be. Nobunaga steps in, explaining that everything will end if they lose, but that's why drifters are there, to help them with this matter, and will take care of everything. Still, they just need to provide food and a lot of money. Banzelmassen proposes another deal, and explains that many wealthy people in Gubinin would like to take some elves. Initially, Nobunaga refuses to sell them, but hearing his idea of turning them into an idol group and they sell merchandise, he starts to like it. St. Germy still refuses, but starts to imagine a male host club with the elves and Yoichi, and easily sees himself getting used to it. In the north, the Catmen are willing to join the Wolfmen and fighting against the Ort, but their leader says that before they join the fight against Ort, he has to clarify beforehand that there is no reason for them to accept Kano Naoshi as their leader. As Naoshi wakes up, he uses some cat tricks to make them obey him and make everyone in the cat tribe loyal to him. There, the Wild Bunch informed Scipio that the Black King had started moving south, and as they had obliterated all the countries in the north one after another, now that he has started, there is no going back, and it's just a matter of time until the end army arrives here. Scipio then tells them to send an immediate reply to aid, that it's impossible, and they can't and won't fight against such an enemy, not in the current situation. Then the Wild Bunch informs Scipio that drifters had gained control over southern Ort. After that, Wild Bunch gives a letter to Naoshi, who sees it's from Yamaguchi Tamon, and reads that he was informed by Octoberist about a Japanese-speaking pilot, and explains where he is located. After reading it, Naoshi starts to laugh, commenting that Tamon the assassin is still alive. The Ends prepare to march. Akechi Mitsuhide is given centaur cavalry and tells Hijikata Toshizo, Grigori Rasputin, and Anastasia Romanova their roles. Joan of Arc wants to burn all drifters, but the Black King tells her she will only set herself ablaze and instructs her to wait. The army heads towards the nearby kingdom and completely obliterates it. After some time has passed, Naoshi is brought to meet Tamon atop an eagle. As soon as he saw him, he issued a challenge to compete against him in sumo. Tamon says he hadn't heard of him because he lived a little bit longer than he did when he first introduced himself. He inquires as to whether or not they were successful, and Naoshi informs him that their entire fleet was annihilated. Tamon guides him through the interior of the Hiryu, an aircraft carrier ship. Then he showed him the stored plane for war in his ship. Even so, the majority of the planes have been damaged, and they are nearly out of fuel and missiles. He explains that they still have manned torpedoes, and then wonders who the man dressed in Roman clothes is. Scipio then steps forward and introduces himself to him. Tamon is genuinely surprised to discover that the man is Scipio from the Second Punic War, but Naoshi claims he is unfamiliar with the historical figure. Tamon then leads them to the armory and reveals that they still possess rifles. He informs Scipio that the rifles date back 2,000 years and are no longer used. Scipio then requests Tamon to inform him of everything that occurred during these 2,000 years, including military concepts and strategies. Tamon explains that he is only a sailor and is familiar with the ocean. As a result, the information he provides won't be comprehensive and would be in fragments. However, Scipio is perfectly alright with this. Thanks for watching. If this series is the most liked in my current production of anime recaps, I will make another series similar to this one. Also, if you haven't yet, please subscribe and help me make more content.